At first glance, almost no one would believe that this worn-out, battered old car could ever be saved. Its paint had almost completely peeled away, leaving behind a faded, weather-beaten surface after years of exposure to the scorching sun and heavy rain. Every inch of the body was covered in dirt and grime, while patches of rust had spread across the metal, making it look more like a forgotten piece of scrap than a vehicle worth restoring. To most people, the only logical destination for a car in this condition would be a scrapyard, where it would either be dismantled for parts or sold as scrap metal. But for this skilled craftsman, the story was entirely different. Where others saw nothing but a worthless wreck, he saw potential waiting to be uncovered. Driven by an unwavering passion for automotive restoration, years of hands-on experience, and remarkable patience, he decided to take on the challenge of bringing this neglected machine back to life. From the very beginning, it was clear that this would not be a quick project. The amount of work required was enormous. Before any repairs could begin, the entire vehicle had to be carefully disassembled. Every door, fender, hood, suspension component, engine part, transmission piece, and countless other components were removed one by one. Each part was carefully labeled and organized to ensure nothing would be misplaced during the rebuilding process. This level of precision was essential, as even the smallest mistake could create major problems when it came time for reassembly. Once the vehicle had been stripped down, every individual component underwent a thorough inspection. Years of accumulated dirt, grease, and corrosion had hidden the true condition of many parts. Some only required careful cleaning before they could be reused, while others had suffered severe wear or rust damage and needed to be repaired or replaced entirely. The chassis demanded the greatest amount of time and effort. Thick layers of rust had to be painstakingly removed using various restoration techniques until clean metal was exposed once again. Every weakened section was repaired, reinforced, and treated with anti-corrosion protection before the surface was carefully smoothed and prepared for primer. This stage required exceptional patience because overlooking even a small rust spot could allow corrosion to return in the future. Meanwhile, the engine underwent a complete overhaul. After sitting idle for many years, nearly every internal component required careful examination. Rubber seals had become brittle, lubricating oil had long since lost its effectiveness, and many metal surfaces showed signs of oxidation. Piece by piece, the engine was disassembled, cleaned, measured, and evaluated. Components that remained within specification were restored and reused, while worn parts were replaced to ensure long-term reliability. The restoration didn't stop there. The transmission, braking system, steering components, and electrical wiring all received the same level of attention. Every electrical connection was inspected for damage or corrosion. Fuel lines, brake lines, hoses, and aging rubber components were replaced wherever necessary to guarantee that the finished vehicle would not only look impressive, but also operate safely and reliably. One of the most remarkable aspects of this restoration was the craftsman's commitment to preserving the car's originality. Rather than replacing every old component with brand new parts, he devoted countless hours to repairing and restoring as many original pieces as possible. This approach not only reduced unnecessary costs, but also maintained the authentic character and historical value of the vehicle. It is this dedication to craftsmanship that separates a true restoration from an ordinary repair job. With the structural work finally complete, the vehicle was ready for its dramatic transformation. The faded exterior was replaced with a flawless new paint finish that restored the car's former elegance. The bumpers, grille, mirrors, wheels, trim pieces, and countless other exterior details were polished, repaired, or refinished until they looked almost factory new. Compared to its original condition, the difference was nothing short of astonishing. The interior also received a complete makeover. The seats, dashboard, steering wheel, door panels, and various cabin components were cleaned, repaired, and restored with great care. Years of dirt and neglect disappeared, replaced by a clean, comfortable cabin that once again reflected the quality of the vehicle when it first rolled off the production line. Finally came the most demanding stage of all, reassembly. Thousands of individual parts had to return to their exact locations with absolute precision. Every bolt was tightened to the proper specification, Every system was checked repeatedly, and each mechanical component was carefully tested before moving on to the next step. The success of the entire project depended on this meticulous attention to detail. At last, the long-awaited moment arrived. Fresh fluids were added, final inspections were completed, and the engine was ready for its first start after years of silence. With the turn of the key, the engine slowly came to life. Its first few moments were cautious, but within seconds it settled into a smooth, steady idle. That sound represented far more than a successful engine start. It was the reward for hundreds of hours of dedication, skill, and relentless hard work. What was once considered nothing more than worthless scrap had been transformed into a fully functional automobile once again. The vehicle didn't just regain its beautiful appearance, it also recovered its ability to drive confidently on the road. This incredible transformation proves that with enough knowledge, patience, and genuine passion, even the most neglected machines can be given a second chance. If you enjoy watching satisfying automotive restorations and want to experience every stage of this incredible transformation, be sure to watch the entire video from beginning to end. You'll witness every step of the process, from dismantling a severely rusted and forgotten vehicle to rebuilding it into a beautiful, roadworthy machine. By the end of the journey, you'll see just how powerful true craftsmanship, experience, and determination can be in bringing an old classic back to life. Time leaves its mark on every vehicle, but when a car is abandoned outdoors for years, the damage extends far beyond its appearance. Prolonged exposure to rain, sunlight, humidity, and changing temperatures gradually destroys not only the bodywork, but also the mechanical systems hidden beneath the surface. The vehicle in this restoration project is a perfect example. Nearly every component, from the chassis and engine to the smallest brackets and fasteners, shows clear signs of corrosion, wear, and aging. It is immediately obvious that this is far more than a routine repair. What lies ahead is a complete restoration from the ground up. The experienced mechanic understands this the moment he begins inspecting the vehicle. Simply replacing a few worn-out parts or applying a fresh coat of paint would never be enough to bring it back to life. Every system must be carefully evaluated to determine what can be saved and what must be rebuilt. For that reason, he chooses the most thorough approach possible, completely disassembling the car so each individual component can be inspected, repaired, or restored before reassembly. The first major task is removing the engine from the chassis. This is one of the most important stages of the entire project because the engine is not only the heart of the vehicle, but also its largest and heaviest mechanical assembly. Leaving it inside the engine bay would make it nearly impossible to access many hidden areas that require cleaning and repair. Working around such a large component would also increase the risk of damaging surrounding parts during the restoration. Before lifting the engine out, the mechanic carefully disconnects every component attached to it. Electrical wiring, fuel lines, cooling hoses, sensors, brackets, and countless other connections are removed one by one in the correct order. Since the vehicle has remained unused for many years, numerous bolts and fasteners have become seized by rust. Rather than forcing them loose, he patiently works on each connection to avoid snapping bolts or damaging original components that may still be reusable. Once every connection has been safely removed, a professional engine hoist is brought into position. The heavy engine is slowly lifted out of the engine bay with extreme care. Every movement is controlled to prevent accidental contact with the surrounding body panels. After the engine is securely placed on a work stand, attention can finally shift toward restoring the rest of the vehicle. With the engine compartment now completely empty, the true condition of the car becomes even more apparent. Thick layers of dried grease cover many surfaces, while years of accumulated dirt fill every corner of the chassis. Rust has spread across numerous metal panels and welded joints, revealing just how much damage time has inflicted. Areas that once provided structural strength now require careful treatment before the restoration can continue. Cleaning the body shell is often one of the most demanding stages of any restoration project. Unlike a standard car wash, the objective here is not simply to remove visible dirt. Every trace of old paint, grease, contamination, and especially rust must be eliminated to expose clean, solid metal that can serve as the foundation for the remaining restoration work. Large professional restoration facilities often rely on advanced equipment such as electrolytic tanks or specialized chemical dipping systems. The stripped body shell is submerged in carefully formulated solutions that dissolve old paint, corrosion, and contaminants with remarkable efficiency. This process saves countless hours of labor while also reaching narrow cavities and hidden areas that conventional tools cannot access. However, the mechanic working on this project does not have access to expensive industrial equipment. His workshop is equipped only with standard mechanical tools, including angle grinders, wire brushes, sandpaper, polishing machines, and a variety of handheld equipment. As a result, almost every inch of corrosion must be removed entirely by hand through patience, determination, and skilled craftsmanship. This becomes one of the greatest challenges of the entire restoration. Working section by section, the mechanic slowly removes rust from every exposed surface. Some areas require only a few minutes of work, while others have suffered such severe corrosion that they must be ground repeatedly before clean metal finally appears. The hidden corners of the wheel wells, door openings, body seams, and narrow structural channels present an even greater challenge. Large power tools simply cannot fit into these confined spaces, forcing the mechanic to rely on small wire brushes and hand sanding to reach every last corner. Although the process is repetitive and physically exhausting, he refuses to leave even the smallest patch of corrosion untreated. Perhaps the most difficult aspect of this work is maintaining the proper balance. Grinding too aggressively can thin the original steel and weaken the body structure. On the other hand, removing too little material allows hidden rust to remain beneath the surface, where it can continue spreading even after the vehicle has been repainted. For this reason, the mechanic constantly inspects every section, adjusting his technique to ensure each surface is cleaned thoroughly without damaging the underlying metal. Day after day, the sound of grinding tools echoes throughout the workshop. Fine metal dust settles over the floor, the workbench, and even the mechanic's clothing. Despite the physically demanding conditions, he continues working with remarkable patience. His goal is never to finish quickly, but to create a foundation that will allow the restoration to last for many years. He understands that any shortcuts taken during this stage would eventually compromise the quality of everything that follows. After countless hours of careful labor, the transformation finally begins to reveal itself. The heavy layers of rust gradually disappear, while every trace of old paint is stripped away. Clean, solid metal slowly emerges beneath the years of neglect. The vehicle that once looked beyond saving now begins to resemble a proper restoration project once again. Although much work still remains, the most critical foundation has finally been established. The results clearly demonstrate that remarkable restorations are not achieved solely through expensive machinery or advanced technology. More often, they are the product of experience, patience, and an unwavering commitment to quality. Every careful movement, every hour of repetitive work, and every decision made during the process contributes to the remarkable transformation taking place. With the body now fully cleaned and prepared for the next phase, the journey is far from over. Fresh primer, bodywork, paint, mechanical rebuilding, and final assembly still lie ahead. Will this forgotten vehicle eventually return to the road, looking and performing like it once did? Continue watching to witness each stage of its incredible transformation and discover how a machine once considered nothing more than scrap metal is slowly brought back to life through dedication, craftsmanship, and perseverance. After spending countless days removing layers of rust, cleaning every inch of the body, and repairing imperfections across the metal panels, the restoration project finally reaches one of its most exciting milestones. This is the stage where all of the previous hard work begins to pay off in a dramatic visual transformation. The mechanic is now ready to give the vehicle an entirely new appearance by repainting it from top to bottom. However, achieving a flawless paint finish involves far more than simply picking up a spray gun and applying color. Behind every glossy mirror-like surface lies hours of careful preparation. The mechanic knows that overlooking even the smallest defect at this stage would allow imperfections to become painfully obvious once the paint has fully cured. He begins by carefully inspecting the entire body under different lighting conditions. Small dents, subtle waves, and uneven areas that might escape an untrained eye are carefully identified and marked. Once every imperfection has been located, he mixes body filler to the correct consistency and methodically applies it to each affected area. Using smooth, controlled strokes, he spreads the filler evenly, restoring the body panels to their original shape and creating a perfectly level surface. Once the filler has completely hardened, the sanding process begins. This is one of the most repetitive yet essential parts of automotive refinishing. Working through several grades of sandpaper, he patiently smooths every repaired section until the surface feels completely uniform. From time to time, he runs his hand gently across the panels, relying on touch as much as sight to detect even the slightest unevenness. Only after every panel meets his high standards does he move on to the next stage. The first coat applied is primer. Although this layer will never be visible after the project is finished, it plays a vital role in determining the quality and durability of the final finish. Primer protects the bare metal from future corrosion, provides a strong bonding surface for the color coat, and creates a perfectly even foundation. As a result, the final paint will appear richer, smoother, and significantly more durable. After allowing the primer to cure completely, the mechanic prepares the vehicle's new color. Before making his final decision, he carefully considers several different options. In the end, he chooses a brilliant shade of bright red, a bold, energetic color that completely transforms the personality of the vehicle. The vibrant finish creates a striking contrast to the faded, rust-covered shell that first arrived at the workshop. The transformation becomes obvious from the very first pass of the spray gun. As each layer of red paint covers the body, years of neglect seem to disappear before the viewer's eyes. The dull, weathered metal gradually gives way to a smooth, glossy finish filled with new life. It almost feels as though the mechanic is performing magic, turning what once looked like worthless scrap into an eye-catching automobile through nothing more than patience, skill, and experience. To achieve a professional finish, every movement of the spray gun is carefully controlled. The mechanic maintains a consistent speed and keeps the proper distance from the surface at all times. Each pass slightly overlaps the previous one, ensuring even paint coverage across every panel. Thanks to this disciplined technique, the finish remains perfectly smooth, free from runs, streaks, or uneven patches of color. After many hours of continuous work, the entire body is finally covered in its brilliant new red finish. Looking at the completed exterior, it is almost impossible to believe this is the very same vehicle that once sat neglected beneath layers of dirt, peeling paint, and severe rust. The transformation is remarkable, not only because of the vibrant new color, but because the car once again looks alive. But the restoration is still far from complete. With the exterior finished, the mechanic immediately shifts his attention to the interior. The first component to receive attention is the set of seats, an important feature that greatly influences both the comfort and overall appearance of the vehicle. Compared to removing rust or rebuilding the engine, restoring the seats is a less physically demanding task. Nevertheless, it still requires patience and care, especially when the goal is to preserve as much of the original material as possible. Upon closer inspection, the mechanic discovers that the seats have survived much better than expected. Despite spending years exposed to the elements, the leather has suffered mostly from accumulated dirt, stains, and fading caused by prolonged sunlight. Surprisingly, there are very few tears, cracks, or areas of severe peeling. The internal structure remains solid, demonstrating the impressive quality of the materials originally used by the manufacturer. This durability is no accident. Because the vehicle is a convertible, its interior was designed from the beginning to withstand constant exposure to sunlight, moisture, and changing weather conditions. Engineers selected high-quality leather capable of resisting ultraviolet radiation, moisture, and environmental aging, far better than the upholstery found in many ordinary passenger vehicles. Taking advantage of the leather's excellent condition, the mechanic restores it using specialized cleaning solutions and soft brushes. Working carefully across every surface, he removes years of accumulated grime without damaging the original finish. Every movement is gentle yet thorough, allowing the leather to recover much of its original appearance. The results are truly impressive. The once dirty and faded seats gradually regain their rich color and clean texture. Their surface becomes brighter, smoother, and far more attractive, with very little evidence of the years they spent abandoned outdoors. Installed inside the freshly restored cabin, they complement the brilliant red exterior perfectly, giving the entire vehicle a balanced and elegant appearance. At this stage of the restoration, the transformation is becoming more dramatic with every completed task. What once appeared to be nothing more than a worn-out by forgotten vehicle is steadily evolving into a beautiful automobile once again. Every completed stage reflects the mechanic's patience, craftsmanship, and dedication to quality. And with several important steps still remaining before the project is complete, the final reveal promises to be even more spectacular than everything seen so far. After restoring the exterior and refreshing the entire interior, the vehicle has already undergone an incredible transformation compared to its original condition. However, the mechanic knows that everything completed so far represents only the visible side of the project. A car may look stunning while sitting still, but its true value is proven only when the engine starts smoothly and performs reliably. With that in mind, he devotes all of his attention to the most critical stage of the restoration, the complete rebuilding of the engine and its mechanical systems. This has always been the greatest challenge in any full vehicle restoration. While bodywork demands patience and precision in repairing the exterior, rebuilding an engine requires extensive mechanical knowledge and absolute accuracy. Even the smallest mistake during assembly can prevent the engine from operating properly or cause serious damage the moment it is started. The mechanic begins by mounting the engine securely on a specialized engine stand, allowing him to work comfortably from every angle. After performing one final inspection, he carefully starts disassembling the engine according to the proper technical sequence. The cylinder head, camshaft, valve train, crankshaft, connecting rods, pistons, and every other major assembly are removed one by one. Before long, what was once a complete engine has been separated into hundreds of individual components of various sizes. The sight of the workbench is truly remarkable. Gears, bearings, bushings, springs, drive shafts, the flywheel, bolts, washers, and countless other parts are neatly organized into carefully arranged groups. Each component has its own shape, dimensions, and purpose. Seeing everything laid out like this makes it easy to appreciate just how sophisticated an automobile engine really is. Hundreds of precisely engineered parts must work together in perfect harmony for the engine to operate efficiently. That complexity explains why very few people are willing to completely disassemble an automotive engine. It requires years of practical experience as well as a deep understanding of mechanical engineering principles. A skilled mechanic must know exactly where every component belongs, the correct installation sequence, the orientation of each part, and the specified torque for every bolt. Without that knowledge, reassembling the engine correctly would be nearly impossible. Even a tiny mistake can have serious consequences. Installing a thrust washer in the wrong position, reversing a bearing, or tightening a bolt with incorrect torque can lead to excessive wear, unusual engine noise, poor performance, or even catastrophic engine failure shortly after startup. For that reason, every single step must be completed with complete concentration and exceptional attention to detail. Fortunately, this mechanic has accumulated years of professional experience. His movements are confident, smooth, and deliberate from beginning to end. As every component is removed, it is carefully labeled and organized to ensure nothing becomes misplaced during reassembly. This disciplined approach not only saves valuable time later, but also greatly reduces the chance of making costly mistakes. Once the engine has been completely dismantled, the restoration of each individual component begins. Years of hardened grease, oil residue, and accumulated grime are removed using specialized cleaning solutions. Every part is then carefully scrubbed before undergoing a detailed inspection. Components that remain within acceptable specifications are cleaned and prepared for reuse, while worn, cracked, or damaged parts are replaced with new ones to ensure long-term reliability and performance. The engine block and exterior housings receive just as much attention as the internal components. After every trace of grease, oxidation, and old residue has been removed, the mechanic prepares the metal surfaces before applying fresh paint. In a surprisingly short time, the once dirty and weathered engine is transformed into a clean, attractive power plant that looks almost factory new. It is difficult to believe that this is the same engine that sat unused for years beneath layers of dirt and corrosion. With every component fully restored, the rebuilding process can finally begin. This is where the mechanic's experience and precision become most apparent. Every bearing, washer, gear, piston, and rotating assembly is installed in exactly the correct position, following the manufacturer's specifications. Each bolt is tightened using calibrated tools to the proper torque, ensuring every component functions exactly as intended. Throughout the assembly process, the mechanic constantly pauses to double-check his work. Rather than rushing to finish, he is willing to spend extra time verifying every detail before moving forward. This careful approach dramatically reduces the likelihood of problems once the engine is finally started for the first time. Perhaps the most impressive aspect of the entire restoration is not simply the mechanic's technical ability, but his dedication to doing every job properly. Whether working on a large engine component or a tiny retaining washer, he gives every part the same level of care and attention. Nothing is overlooked, and no shortcut is ever taken. His commitment to quality is reflected in every stage of the restoration. That commitment is what separates an ordinary repair technician from a true automotive restoration craftsman. His goal extends far beyond simply making the engine run again. Instead, he strives to restore every component to the best condition possible, preserving the vehicle's originality while giving it many more years of dependable service. At this point, the restoration project is approaching its final chapter. What was once an abandoned vehicle left to deteriorate for years is steadily reclaiming its former beauty and mechanical reliability through patience, expertise, and countless hours of skilled craftsmanship. Every completed stage demonstrates that with enough knowledge, determination, and passion, even a machine that appears beyond saving can be given an entirely new beginning. Now that you've witnessed this incredible restoration journey, which part impressed you the most? Was it the painstaking rust removal, the dramatic repainting process, or the incredibly detailed engine rebuild? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your opinion on the remarkable transformation of a vehicle that once seemed destined to be forgotten forever. After every engine component has been thoroughly cleaned, inspected, and restored, the mechanic finally reaches the most critical stage of the entire project, reassembling the engine from the ground up. This is the moment when all the hard work invested over the past several days is truly put to the test. A single misplaced component or one small mistake during assembly could prevent the engine from running properly, making every previous step meaningless. For that reason, the mechanic never rushes the process. Every component is carefully returned to its original position following the manufacturer's assembly sequence. Watching him work, it is clear that every movement is smooth, deliberate, and precise. He rarely hesitates because he knows the internal structure of this engine exceptionally well. One by one, the pistons are installed back into their cylinders with remarkable accuracy. They are followed by the connecting rods, crankshaft, camshaft, timing components, and hundreds of other parts. Every component serves a specific purpose, and only when they all work together in perfect synchronization can the engine operate efficiently. That is why each stage of the assembly receives the same careful attention, no matter how small the part may be. Another detail worth noticing is the mechanic's commitment to using the proper tools throughout the entire process. Every bolt is tightened to the manufacturer's specified torque, ensuring both durability and reliability. Many people underestimate the importance of correct torque settings, yet they play a vital role in the long-term performance of an engine. Tighten a bolt too much and a component may become damaged. Tighten it too little and leaks, vibration, or premature wear can develop over time. Perhaps the most impressive aspect of the entire process is the mechanic's patience. After completing each section of the engine, he carefully inspects everything once again before moving forward. This habit greatly reduces the possibility of mistakes while giving viewers confidence that Every detail is being handled with exceptional care. Today, YouTube is filled with automotive restoration videos, but very few projects showcase an engine rebuild as thoroughly as this one. Many restorations focus only on cleaning the exterior or replacing a handful of major components to get the vehicle running again. In contrast, this project involves completely disassembling the engine, inspecting every individual part, restoring reusable components, and rebuilding the entire assembly from scratch. That level of detail reflects both the mechanic's technical expertise and his dedication to doing the job properly. Because of this meticulous approach, viewers gain a much deeper understanding of what it truly takes to revive an old automobile. The project demonstrates that restoring a neglected vehicle requires far more than fresh paint or polished bodywork. Hidden beneath the exterior are countless hours of skilled labor, technical knowledge, and careful craftsmanship that most people never have the opportunity to witness. As the restoration progresses, it becomes increasingly clear that the mechanic is driven by genuine passion rather than simply completing another repair job. His goal is not merely to make the engine start again. Instead, he strives to restore every component to the highest possible standard, treating the entire powertrain as though he were building a brand new engine from the very beginning. At this stage, the restoration is almost complete. The body has been refinished with fresh paint, the interior has been cleaned and refreshed, and the engine is now nearing the end of its rebuild. Only a few final steps remain before this forgotten vehicle will have the opportunity to start, drive, and return to the road after years of neglect. In your opinion, is rebuilding the engine the most fascinating part of the entire restoration? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear which stage impressed you the most during this remarkable journey of bringing an abandoned automobile back to life. After completing the engine assembly and performing one final inspection of every component, the mechanic finally reaches the most important moment of the entire restoration project. Days of hard work, patience, and dedication are about to be tested with a single action: starting the rebuilt engine for the very first time. This is always the most nerve-wracking moment for any mechanic. No matter how carefully the engine has been assembled, there is never a guarantee that everything will work perfectly on the first attempt. A single misplaced component or one overlooked connection could prevent the engine from running properly and undo all of the effort invested throughout the restoration. Before turning the key, the mechanic spends extra time checking every system one last time. Electrical connections, fuel lines, the cooling system, lubrication passages, and numerous other components are carefully inspected. Only after confirming that everything is exactly where it should be, does he take a seat behind the wheel and slowly turn the ignition key. For a few brief seconds, the workshop falls completely silent. Then, the engine begins to crank before suddenly coming to life with a smooth, familiar sound. The steady idle is the perfect reward for the countless hours of careful work that came before it. That single moment is enough to prove that the painstaking restoration has been a success. Even so, the mechanic does not immediately consider the job finished. Instead, he allows the engine to idle for several minutes while carefully monitoring its performance. During this time, he checks the oil pressure, coolant temperature, engine speed, and overall operating stability. At the same time, he listens closely for even the slightest unusual sound that might indicate a hidden problem inside the engine. After several minutes of observation, everything appears exactly as it should. The engine runs smoothly and consistently, with no oil leaks, abnormal noises, or signs of mechanical trouble. Every system works together perfectly, confirming that the complete engine rebuild has been a success. With the engine performing flawlessly, the mechanic begins installing it back into the engine bay. Because of its considerable weight, a lifting device is used to lower the engine carefully into position. Every movement is slow and controlled to prevent accidental contact with the freshly restored bodywork. Once the engine is properly aligned, the mounting bolts, hoses, electrical wiring, and all supporting systems are reconnected one by one. Before long, the vehicle is nearly complete. What was once an abandoned automobile left exposed to the elements for years has now become a fully restored machine, ready to return to the road. The moment the car begins moving under its own power marks the perfect conclusion to the entire restoration journey. The rebuilt engine runs smoothly and confidently as the vehicle rolls forward with ease. Watching it drive again, it is almost impossible to believe that this is the same rust-covered, forgotten car that appeared at the beginning of the video. This project showcases far more than technical skill alone. It is a powerful reminder that patience, experience, and genuine passion can accomplish extraordinary things. With enough determination and craftsmanship, even a vehicle that seemed beyond saving can be given a second chance and begin a brand new chapter. Thank you for joining us throughout this incredible restoration journey. We hope you enjoyed watching every stage of the transformation and found it both informative and inspiring. If you enjoy automotive restoration and classic car revival videos like this one, don't forget to leave a comment and share your thoughts. Your support motivates us to continue bringing you even more exciting restoration projects in the future. Thank you again for watching. We wish you good health, happiness, and success, and we look forward to seeing you in our next restoration adventure.